This video will be about how to make good returns on any Bitcoin that you have. If you get Bitcoin that are just sitting around and not doing anything, this is a really good way to earn interest on them. I'll give you a view of the current rates that I'm getting. This is the web page that the bot that I'm going to show you how to set up produces. So you can see that I'm letting my Bitcoin out at around 0.637% a day, my Dash at a really good rate of 0.4211% a day, and my Monero at a little bit less than that. The bot will give you a breakdown of all your monthly, weekly, daily, everything. You can see all that here. We'll get into that all a bit later. So if we go back to Poloniex, the way the lending on this site works is there are guys on here who are using margin trading. I'll not go into that, you can look it up. And margin trading in this sense means that they need someone to lend them money. So we're going to lend them money and they're going to pay us a little percentage to borrow that money, just the way a bank or anything would. These are the active loans I have out at the minute. These are really good rates. These are daily rates. So if we take this one and I'll do a quick calculation on what that would be per annum. You can see I've already got one in here. So at 365 days, that comes out here at about 29.71% per annum rate. That's very good. You won't get that on a bank or anything else. So how am I doing this? Here you can see all the loans. You can make the loans manually. I could put that in and offer it for 2 days at this rate. I'm not going to do that right now because we're going to do it with the bot in a minute or two, but that's basically how it works. They'll go into the book here, and then the next time someone who's using margin trading needs a loan, hopefully they will loan from you and then pay you back eventually. So to do that every time yourself is quite time consuming. People pay you back money and you could be sleeping, whatever else. So you need something to loan that money back out as quickly as you can. That's where the bot comes in. So the bot that I'm using is this one here. I'll put the link in the comment or in the description. It's the poloniexlendingbot. Now it uses Python. If you're not familiar with Python, it's a programming language. It's quite a good one, quite simple, so anyone could pick it up relatively quickly. Hopefully you won't need to know too much Python, and I'll go through everything that you're going to need to know here. So before we get started, you're going to need to install Python 2.7. I think there's some description of the stuff in here that you need to do, so I'll not go into all that. And you're also going to need to install Git. You can just go to Google, search for Git, and install the Windows client for Git. When you do install Git, make sure that you tick the checkbox to add, oh no, this is for Python. When you install Python, click the checkbox to add Python to the path. If there's one for Git, make sure you do that also, because we're going to be doing things in the command line, and it's better if you do that when you're installing so we can access it straight away. So first, to install the bot, we copy this, which is the repo address, which is how Git will basically check the code out. So I'm going to check mine out into this Dropbox folder. So you just do git clone, and then I've copied the address, so just paste that in. Git will go off and check out the repository and bring it down. Then we're going to cd, which is change directory, and then into the name of the folder, which is Poloniex lendingbot, just like it's checked out here. So let's do that. Now in here there's one main file, and I don't see it here. I'm not sure why. You probably need to run it first. I think you actually run it first and then it creates it. So Python lendingbot.py. This is what you do every time you want to run it, and this is why I said you need to put Python on your path, because we're going to call Python directly from the command line. This window I've got here, it might look a little bit different to what your normal Windows command prompt looks like, but to get your normal Windows command prompt, and it'll just be the same as this, if you just push your start button and then type cmd, and then it should bring you up a window that looks just like this. You can do all the same things like I'm doing. Git clone, blah, oops. So git clone and then the name of the repository, and I'll do the same thing. I'm just using that other terminal window because I prefer how it looks. So we kick off the bot for the first time, and you can see here that it's going to create the default file, the default config file, which is the thing that we're interested in and we're going to change. So if we open that up in Notepad, so just type Notepad and then default.cfg, you can see here that it's got all your different configuration parameters. Now I already have an API secret and an API key, so I'm going to add mine in, But to get them from Poloniex, you just go to Poloniex here, go to this little spanner, then go to API keys. Now I've already got a couple of keys. You can't see the secrets and just the keys. I'll not be able to show you the secrets because you could use mine. But you just create a new key. It will go through a couple of different things where you have to, if you've got it set up, and you should set it up, use two-factor authentication. And then it'll send an email and it'll ask for the two-factor, and then you can show the secret and the key. So I'm not going to do that because I've already got it all done. I'm just going to go off screen here and put my keys in so that you don't see them. So as I said earlier, it's a really good idea to set up the two-factor authentication. Hopefully if you ever encounter a site where it gets hacked, that should give a little bit of protection against it. It's not guaranteed, but it's certainly going to help. Anywhere where you've got any of your money stored, I would recommend that you set up two-factor authentication. Okay, so I've copied in my keys. I'll keep them off screen for the meantime while we're looking through the rest of this file. You don't really need to change much in the default file. The only things that I have changed, ignore this if you're going to set up multiple coins. Otherwise set this up. For Bitcoin at the minute I've got it set to 4.69, which I think is a good rate. You can play around with it yourself, but that's definitely a good starting point. You don't actually need to set that if you're going to have custom configs. So down here is where, if you've got multiple coins in the exchange, and if you're just playing about with this the first time and you're just using Bitcoin, don't worry about it, you don't need to do this. I personally have multiple coins in here, so I'm actually going to set mine to 0.00469, is that correct? It is 0.0469. I've also got Dash, which at the minute is really popular in here, so I'm going to set to 0.046. And the last coin that I've got is Monero, which is XMR. And I'm going to set Monero, which is not so popular, to 2.5. Now these are all daily rates. The one at the end of this just means if you are going to lend or you're not going to lend it. They haven't implemented the amount you'll be able to lend, so just set it to 1 for the meantime if you're going to use this. And as I said, if you're not using other coins, just set your minimum daily rate up here. Oh shit, my secret's up on screen. I'll have to edit that out. Okay, so save that. Close the file. And then we can go back to our command prompt. Now in here, you just do the same thing again, poloniexlendingbot, and it'll load in the config file that we've just edited. Hopefully your API key and your secret are working. Okay. It didn't used to do that before. This is an updated version, so I'm not wondering what that is. Oh, I did forget one other thing that you should change. Now you can see my whole secret and key. Brilliant. So down here, the file or the web page I showed you earlier is created by these. So uncomment these 3 lines, and that will start up the web server, and then you can connect to it in your browser and you can get all the stats that I showed you a second ago. So I'll just save that again, close it, and let's run it up. So hopefully this time it should say, it hasn't said anything. Normally it says that it's connecting or it's starting the web service, but let's just see if it worked. Okay, so it's worked anyway. It starts it, I don't know if you can see that, but it starts it on this address here, which is your local host and a port. You don't need to worry about that. You can just put this into your web browser and it should work as long as you've got those 3 lines commented out. Okay, so now it's running. So if we go back to Poloniex, unfortunately at the minute, or has it just kicked off something? Okay, yes, it has. So it has actually started this loan here, just as we started it. Maybe that's what all those numbers coming out were. I don't know, I'm not sure. So it's taken the balance that I had in my account. I must have just arrived at some extra balance as well from one of my miners. And it has put out a loan at this rate for duration 2 days. That's the default in it, and it's suggest that you stay with it unless you get a lot more return on it. There's a few config options you can see in there. I might do a video on that later, but I don't need to do it right now. And that's basically it. The main thing is to make sure you set the minimum rates for each of the currencies. The rest of the default config is perfectly fine to use the way it is. Once you get a bit more comfortable with it, you can maybe start playing around with the minimum daily values. I have been trying to track each of the coins that I'm using and see what is the kind of sweet spot for each of them. And it's definitely worth looking at the exchange, seeing if there's maybe some way you can capitalize on it. Trade some Bitcoin in for some Dash coin or some Monero, and then put that into the lending. Because Dash, as I was showing you maybe a second ago, or you saw it, I was lending out Dash at 0.4229 today, which is crazy. I think that works out, it's a couple of 100% per annum return, so that's really good. So it is worth looking at the other coins and seeing if you can trade your Bitcoin in and maybe use one of the other ones to make a bit more money on that. So I'll put up some of the links that were used in the description below, and if you have any questions or anything else, put a comment down below, or you can drop me a line on Twitter at whatever my fucking Twitter is. I don't have one yet. Thanks. Bye.